Are you one of the people who believe that eventually the world or the country could be run by like giant AI computers that just take temperature checks of society?
I wouldn't mind. I mean, as long as the human well-being is the primary value.
Amen.
Then I think it's going to be okay because people have the wrong idea about AI already. They're thinking it's taking my job. It's doing it's ripping off people and all this. It's like it's not doing any of that shit. And not only that, it's not doing anything that a human isn't prompting it to do at this point. So there is that fear is kind of a moot point. And I understand why people have fears because it sounds scary. Oh, there's a thing and it's conscious, kind of, not really, but it's got, it can do stuff. I get it. But for me, the problem with humanity is the biases that we have and the emotion that we get and the ambition that we have. Those are the things that make legislation incredibly slow and why we're not making great decisions because it takes too long. And the expiration date is gone on the correct time to respond to something. So I believe that AI doesn't have any of those limitations and can just make the most efficient choice. And again, as long as human well-being is the base of the equation, I believe that it can. We're going to start seeing. I mean, California's already talking about it now about using AI in like small-scale legislation to speed up things, and I think that that's great. I just think like we look at politics now, and it's so gamified based off of ambition. People are already thinking about getting reelected as soon as they're elected, which is stupid and not useful.
It's so correct. And by the way, ambition is attached to emotion, right?
Yes.
And selfishness attached to emotion.
Mm-hmm.
All the things that are wrong with the system is attached to emotion because you like to hope that the people you elect have the ability to be selfless civil servants.
Yes.
And ensure a present and a future where just like talent being equally distributed, opportunity is equally distributed.
Yes.
But
Yes.
their emotion gets in the way of that.
Almost always. And then you get like, the influences of, it's like it's not really a political statement to say this. It's just a true thing. It's like, of course, if someone gets elected and you've got their ear and you're part of a company that represents like, a piece of legislation they need to make their business a little bit better, of course, you're going to lean on them a little bit. And then they might listen to you or they'll say, hey, I've got like 70,000 voters. That would be, and all that wheeling and dealing, which again, should have nothing to do with
the general well-being.
With people going like, okay, how can we make life best for as many people as possible? And am I cooperative? And am I humble enough to work with anybody that has good ideas? Basic ideas, but and the basic, I think those are the basic elements that anybody elected should have. But of course, that's not going to happen. That's not the way it's designed at this point.
No. And we do not view people as assets, right? Like, dude,
that's true.
I think the greatest asset that a country has are its people.
Yes.
Right? And what we create and what we contribute and what we bring to the table every morning of every day. That should be at the forefront of every single decision that is ever made. And if we don't realize that people matter the most, and like with that is putting people above profits, et cetera,
Totally.
we're gonna be in for a really rude awakening,
I know it's like it's just gonna if we keep going down that path, we're just gonna get backed up into a corner and like a bunch of terrible crap is gonna happen, and then we'll be like, I don't know, and it's like, yeah, you did know, you knew decades ago, but you just didn't want to listen because either you thought that you were fighting for the rights of a corporation, which is like most of when I hear all the like crazy arguments being made by people about why they are so against helping people of their own country, their fellow countrymen. They don't know it, but they generally are representing the interests of corporations. And again, corporations are just made of people, so corporations can do good. But in general, if they're influencing politics, probably not up to good. And in doing so, but what you said is completely true. Like when I drive down the streets in LA and I see these huge homeless encampments, these unhoused encampments, like if those people weren't, what would happen if they weren't in survival mode? What if they were able to think clearly about ideas that they have for helping their community around them? Like what if they were able to do that? Like investing in your brain trust, which is your population, you're missing out on all these things. But of course, it doesn't make sense to to a company that wants to make profits like just uncontrolled. They just want that number going up. That's the only thing they care about. So the board is like, well, we're not going to reward you if you're doing good things for the community because that's not making the numbers go up. So we're not going to support that. Like that doesn't make any sense at all. But if human well-being were part of the value system of current capitalism, then we'd have a value system to look at on the graph as well. And that could change everything. So I don't know. For me, AI, you get rid of the dum-dums that shouldn't be making decisions.
You get rid of the emotion.
Yeah, get rid of the emotion and like give other people opportunities to get involved in helping to solve problems.
What are you thinking?
What about AI and music? Because that's a big thing these days.
Well, music's stupid, so whatever. No, I mean, yeah, I have some friends that are like, oh, what about like, soundtrack stuff or audio logos or, these jobs that composers have and so forth. I mean, yeah, it's probably going to be used, but still, again, someone has to prompt these AIs. So you still have a creative aspect involved in it. I guess you could have an AI just go analyze all the music that for interstitials of sitcoms in the 90s and formulate an all new score for this type of a show that runs at this many minutes with these commercials and all that stuff. And it could do it. But ultimately, I also think people just like working with people, and it's just faster when you work with pros that know what they're doing. It's just faster and easier, and also more, I don't know, ethical. I think like if composers want to use AI to help expedite their jobs, that's totally fine. I'm not really worried about AI taking over creativity. I just don't think that is, I don't know, I'm just not worried about it. I'm not worried about it for myself. I'm not worried about it. I mean, anything can be used nefariously, of course, but I just don't think in the end that that's what it's going to be used for.
How would you define the type of comedy you do?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's trickster, benevolent, social hacking, disorientation, stupidness.
AI can never duplicate that.
I don't think it could. I don't think it could. It can in an AI way, in like a not a I'm understanding why I'm doing this kind of a way. Also, I don't know if AI will have access to the way that the human what is happening inside of the human mind as it's coming up with ideas or things are occurring to the mind and what you do with them creatively.